Yo, what's going on, y'all? It's your boy So, and welcome back to the channel. Make sure you're hitting that like, comment, and subscribe button, and most importantly, turn on the notifications. That way you guys get notified when we drop hits like this. This week on OnlyFans, Joel and I are breaking down the Monday Night Football loss to the Tennessee Titans. It's embarrassing how we went down, but we got a lot to talk about, and we got a lot to figure it out. Time to take a ride, y'all. Let's go!
Fans up in the building, rep the gear from toe to ceiling. 305 stays on the brim, by 95 we popping wheelies. On the way out to the rock, time to see the trio fly. OBJ, Tyreek, and Waddle, speed and swag solidifies. Tools, Babby in the pocket, got my D coordinating. With the Weaver operating, on the sideline formulating. Strategizing for that dub, let's get A-Train on the track. Chubbs and Ramsey, Phillips healthy, boy, we bout to crack some backs. Time to change the narrative, F off with all due respect. Criticism at its finest, break the cycle down the stretch. Top dog offense in the league, let's keep it going postseason. Bring that heat in cold weather, that's a Dade County reason. OnlyFans, presented by Sports with So-So. Presented by Sports with So-So.
We were just mentioning, right, before we get the show started.
How fire is that song,
How
dog?
fire is that new intro song, man? Shout out to XL, shout out to Ace, man, my brothers.
Kind of went under the radar last week because, we had some delays in production, working with artists and whatnot.
Especially
But,
those two, right?
I mean, bro, great work like that is not going to come, overnight, but it takes time.
No.
And, yeah, man, this is now, what, the second or the third iteration of the OnlyFans intro song?
No, the third, right? Because we had a first one, we flipped it, the remix. This is the new hot version for the 2025 season.
2024, 2025 on the board.
We needed something hot.
Yeah, dog.
We needed something hot because in order to keep bringing the people in, the Dolphins ain't doing the winning, right? So we at least had to give them some hot fire to be like, yo, at least the beat is fire and the lyrics are fire.
It should, if anybody from the Miami Dolphins organization is watching or listening, and we know that you are, it should just show you how dedicated we are as fans.
To OnlyFans.
To the Dolphins.
And to the Dolphins.
You know what I mean? To put out a great product like we do, at least we try to.
Week in, week out.
And we just want to turn on the TV on Monday night and see our beloved team reciprocating.
It's all about the consistency, right? You got to be consistent with the effort. That's what it comes down to, right? Whether you're in podcasting, whether you're in sales, whether you're in nursing, whatever, you want to be consistent in order to be the best at your job.
Sure.
And what we've seen from this Dolphins team, everything aside, we have not seen an ounce of consistency. And that showed up big time on Monday Night Football's loss to the Tennessee Titans, 31-12, because everything that happened in that game was in spurts. As far as our performance, right? We have to give credit to Tennessee. They ran the ball down our throats. They were able to block very well for their quarterback, right? Mason Rudolph when he came into.
Well, that's the other thing too.
Yeah,
we'll get into that.
But even still, they,
Go on with your train of thought.
hurt. Levis got hurt, but the O-line did a good enough job of giving these guys space and punishing us on the running, punishing us, and even their defensive line. They won that battle clearly, and that's when we saw the biggest inconsistencies. The offensive line would get a push on one play and then get destroyed for the next 6 plays. Or the defense would get a sack or cause a tackle for loss, and then they would give up a 13-yard run right after that or a 20-yard pass. It felt like nothing that they can do as far as effort was consistent. And that's what killed this game. Besides everything else, everybody else just playing mediocre at a mediocre level, we had nothing consistent. Nothing consistent.
So I'll definitely say that I agree. I mean, the Dolphins, have only been consistent at one thing, and that's being inconsistent. So
Facts.
We got our title episode for the episode, consistently inconsistent.
Yep, that's it.
That's it right there. But nah, man, I got to play a little devil's advocate here because I want to break down this game and I want to break down where we're at right now. As we'll do. But if I got to give some credit there, I got to give the credit to the defense. There's some credit to be had for the defense for being as consistent as they can possibly be without their offense generating to complement them. And I say that because, man, this game was 9-3 at the half?
Yeah.
Right, you know what I mean? We let up 3 field goals. They had, field position. Will Levis stretching out for a first down ends up getting hurt, which I thought, by the way, he got that first down, and the officials said...
In my opinion, where we were sitting...
The officiating was suspect. So far, I mean, it's early in the season. They're still, you know what I mean, like ironing out the kinks as well for themselves and all that stuff. But, you know, he ends up getting hurt. And then Mason Rudolph. Well, I didn't even know Mason Rudolph was Will Levis's backup. I thought he was still somewhere in Pittsburgh, maybe third string or something behind Russell Wilson or something like that. But he comes in and he's able to, you know, string along a couple plays here and there, which... Again, our defense was able to make some big stops in that first half, and the second half, again, not having the offense to complement or have something to go off of, it just got away from it in the end, and that's what leads to the inconsistency. I mean, you can only be as consistent as your whole team is.
Here's my rebuttal, which is a very real rebuttal to the defense playing as best as it can under the circumstances, right? There's two things that are working against them. Number one, the amount of first downs that they were giving up on the ground, right? A better offense scores touchdowns on those drives. It just so happened
You're talking about the Titans?
Yeah. It just so happens that we're facing a bad offense in Tennessee, right? And their quarterback play is not going to allow them to score touchdowns. But we could have easily been down 21-3. Easily.
Yeah.
Easily, right? And like I said, if we're playing Buffalo, we're playing Baltimore, we're playing any of these teams that we consider to be in that upper echelon of the AFC, right? Those teams are scoring.
And we saw it. We saw it with Josh Allen a couple weeks ago.
So that's why I can't point to the defense and say, well, fuck it, at least you guys held them to 9 points. Nah, man, you shouldn't have given up any points realistically to this offense because they have a hard time scoring. They have a hard time moving the ball down the field.
Yeah, but
and we allowed that to happen.
But even to nitpick that, the 9 points, Nick Folk had to bank 2 or 3 50-plus yarders.
Correct. I hear you.
So it's not like they were in red zone territory and we made it stop. You know what I mean? Like, they weren't giving up those big plays until the second half when they were just gassed from being out on the field. But anyways, you know, the
second thing, my bad to finish.
No, go for it.
The second thing that you can point at the defense, that you can point at the defense and say, this is where you guys have to play better. A lot of the money that has been spent has been on the defensive side. We knew that we lost a presence in the middle. We never really covered it. Yes, Calais Campbell played well, and he's doing well, right? But he's also 38, 39 years old, and he's not playing every single down. So what are we doing there? The tackling was atrocious. And that's something that, you know, you just can't forgive. Maybe the first guy missed, maybe the second guy, right? If it's a really good player we're going up against, or the guy's making a move, he has leverage or whatever. But for us to have like 6 guys, 7 guys trying to bring down one person, that's a problem. That's a problem for a high-level type of defense, right? Because then that means one-on-one they can't get the job done. Or even, you know, the second man can't get the job done. And those are things that any good defense, right? I'm saying not great, good defense should be able to do consistency. And there's a problem with the Dolphins defense.
We made this about the defense early, and it shouldn't be. I was just trying to point out that the only silver somewhat lining is the defense. Because in a team that was so good last year through 3 games, had 130 points, and now this year it was like a third of that, it's really, there's not a lot. So there's not a lot of positives right now, bro. And that's why I wanted to at least try to give the credit to somewhat to the defense, because I know it's so easy to just be like, the whole team sucks. No.
Individually,
the defense has parts.
Some awards.
Exactly. Offensively, though, man.
You can't hand out nothing individually.
There's
offensively.
Zero to be done.
Zero.
From our O-line to poor Tyler Huntley to the guy on the sideline that I'm starting to lose faith in game by game, calling the plays.
We'll get to him. But at the end of the day, it's a performance-based league, right? The players are in control of their actions. The players are in control of their destinies and how well they perform, right? Because I can put you in the perfect scenario every single time, but it's up to you as the player to do your job in that scenario, right? And I think that that's where the Dolphins are facing a lot of shortcomings. The guys that we're trusting to make the plays, the guys that we're betting on to make the plays, they're not making the plays, regardless of the reason, right? Oh, it can't just be, well, Tua's out, right? And, well, we can't run this. Nah, fuck that. This is NFL. We should have a backup. We should have a plan. We should have a contingency plan in place in case things don't go down the way we expect them to. But even still, that's part of the job as a coach, as a GM, to prepare for that. at the end of the day, the execution comes on the field, right?
Yeah.
And the players have to be held accountable for that. If you're talking about money being spent, you're talking about Tyreek Hill getting paid. You're talking about Jalen Waddle getting paid. You're talking about guys on the offensive line getting paid, right? You're talking about Alex Ingold earning his check, right? You're talking about us bringing Odell and what's going on there. John U. Smith got a contract, hasn't done shit here. And I get it. It's been 4 games without pretty much Tua and all this stuff. But if we're looking at the Dolphins from a macro vision, we know things are wrong because the outputs aren't there. And you mentioned something about the defense. Let's just see what they've done in these first 4 games. They gave up 17 to Jacksonville, 31 to Buffalo, 24 to Seattle, and 31 again to Tennessee. There's only one team out of those 4 that I would say, yeah, I expect those guys to put up 30 points on us regardless. And that's Buffalo because they have an extraordinary quarterback. Everybody else I look at and I look about the quarterbacks and their quarterback situation, I'm like, dog, it's just as bad as ours, if not worse in some cases, right? But they've gotten the results, we haven't. Now, this is the point where the blame becomes very obvious, right? The blame becomes very obvious, and we're going to be able to pinpoint that, and that's going to be the story for the rest of the season. And if I'm me, right, yeah, we can break down the game. Everybody saw the game. I was there live. Like, we saw us getting manhandled on offense. We saw us getting pushed around on defense, right, and gaps being opened from Tennessee's offensive line. We saw all of that. We saw the missed throws. We saw Huntley not being sure of himself, overthrowing Hill. We saw all of that. So there's no need to break that shit down. We saw a bad performance, and everything was laid out the way that it currently is. That's the reality. What we saw last night is the reality of the Dolphins today, right now. But then you got to think about it in 2 ways. One, how do you move forward with the rest of the season, right? And what do you take away from this in order to not let it happen again under whoever's leadership? And I say whoever's leadership because, yeah, McDaniel's going to be the one being talked about a lot today, right? And over the next week until Sunday where we play the Patriots, he's going to be the one talked about the most because he's the head coach. And he's ultimately having the effect on the field because he's the one calling the plays, and the players respond to him. Therefore, he's in charge. But the guy that we really have to focus on is Chris Grier and the past that this guy has gotten here as a Miami Dolphin GM. This was supposed to be his greatest achievement. Putting together a team that not only breaks the playoff drought, but would potentially be a Super Bowl contending type team. 4 years into this project with Chris Grier, and nothing. No substance. A lot of hype, flash, bang, boom, look over here. 0 substance. No real offensive line, no real D line. And if you want to win Super Bowls, you know where you win them? In the motherfucking trenches. And we don't have that. We have a lot of pretty shit. That's why we can't win in October. That's why we can't physically run the ball. We have the talent. We have the nice pieces here and there, but we never did a good enough job of putting the whole pie together. That's on Chris Grier. And if he doesn't get fired, if we go up to New England and we lose, and this man still has a job, it's a fucking travesty. It's a travesty, Joel.
Really?
14 years here. 14 years here as the GM, the guy running the show. He survived more head coaches than I don't know who, dog. And we've seen a lot of turnaround here. You know it, I know it, you guys know it at home. Chris Grier is the one who has to step up and say, this shit is on me. I didn't want to go get a backup for Tua because I trusted in the coach, knowing that this guy is fucking fragile. That's on me. I gave him that contract extension. I have to protect him with an offensive line. That's on me. You knew you were going to lose Chris Wilkins in the middle. You didn't go replace him because you were negotiating the contract. And at the same time you're negotiating with him, guess what? You could have been negotiating with somebody else to replace him and say, hey, Papi, if you don't sign, okay, I got a replacement right now. But that's Chris Grier's job, and he didn't do it. And we can point it out. And I know that, like you said, alluded to earlier, they're watching. Not only this show, they're watching all the Dolphins content that comes out. But we saw us burn the shit out of them last year for the devastating cornerback DB situation and how much it affected the team, right? Even when things were going great, how much that affected the team that those guys went and got how many new fucking DBs? Yeah. Because they are paying attention. They know that people are talking. They know that teams are looking at them and saying, this is the weakness against this Dolphins team. And that's where we're at. In order to know what's the future, we got to take care of this problem now. Week 4. Now. Because I'll tell you what, and I'll let you speak on this after I make this comment.
I was going to ask you how. Well, my question to you, how?
You have to fire Chris Greer. And if you fire Chris Greer, the earlier, the better. You know why? Because then that allows you to say, you know what? We're going to bring in Mr. Ross. We're going to bring in Dan Marino. We're going to bring in the board of trustees, the 5-6 alumni and business partners and whatever. Hey, we need to find a new GM. Let's start the search. Who's up and coming? Who's available? Who's out of contract? Who's looking for a new home? Let's find the best of the best. And we have the rest of the season to find this. That way, when the season is over, Papi, contract is already mailed. Get it ready. Sign it. Good to go. Now, the off season that's going to kick off, this guy's already in your office, ready to work. Not, oh, I'm looking for a GM during free season, like during the free agency period. Because let's be honest, free agency starts the moment the Super Bowl is over. Teams start calling agents start calling their players, and all that movement starts. So you need to be in the office here before that shit has happened. Can't just fire you and then start the search. You need time to find a GM. That's not like a head coach. Now, how do we do that? By firing Chris Greer. The sooner the better. Because as this season goes on, it's only going to become more evident how he's failed to support this team, to support the moves that Stephen Ross has okayed, to support the ideas of McDaniels. He's failed. There's no easier way to put it. He's failed. And like I said, the sooner we get rid of him, the better off the Dolphins will be. And we can move forward. Because we know that status quo right now is not the immediate future. It's just not.
That's some harsh words, dog. Some really harsh words. I will say, you know, obviously there have been misses. You know what I mean? There have been some things we could have done better. You know, I don't know the job of a GM really, the ins and outs and what it takes and all that. I know he's been here for a while. I also know that, you know, even though there's nothing to show for it, these last 4 years of being a Dolphins fan have been great. Some of the better years of being a Dolphins fan in the last 20 years.
Great.
And a lot of that, I think, is thanks in part to Chris Greer, who has brought us the likes of the best receiver in the NFL, Tyreek Hill, who's drafted guys like Christian Wilkins, who's drafted guys like Jalen Waddle, who brought us one of the best edge rushers in the game in Brad Chubb, who brought us one of the best corners in the game in Jalen Ramsey. You can see where I'm getting at here. And a lot of these things, you and I sat, not on the same couch, but on this same platform right here, and praised Chris Greer for how well of a job he's done for our organization and finally got his shit together for us. And for you to sit here and say, if we lose in New England, when we lost the number one piece for our team, week 2, and you think that our GM is responsible for that, brother, I got to disagree with that wholeheartedly.
Who do you think is responsible? Who's responsible for signing the backup quarterback? Is it McDaniels or is it Greer?
It's going to be Greer.
It's going to be Greer, right? And that should be theoretically the second biggest important job.
It's not.
Number one is Tua.
It never is on any team.
Hold on. Yeah, of course it is. Especially on this team. You know why? Because whenever we've lost Tua, which we have, last year being the only exception, right? Whenever we've lost Tua, guess how dramatic the drop-off has been?
Oh, absolutely. Well, hold on.
But it's been dramatic, Joel.
It actually, no, because when we first lost Tua 2 years ago, what happened? Skylar Thompson came out, and he actually played well.
Nobody knew him, kid.
Of course we knew him, bro.
No, we knew him. No,
but that's
no
who we're
defense,
talking to.
But,
Hold on,
but no
stop for a
defense
second.
was fucking
Stop for a
picking this
second.
guy up.
It wasn't a drastic decline. It was not a drastic decline. That very next game, we can look it up, dog. I'll put it on the screen if you want. We almost beat the Bills in that game with Skylar Thompson leading the way. So there was hope. Last year, Tua plays every single game. He does not get hurt. We don't have a reason to utilize Skylar Thompson. Now, Tua gets hurt. Skylar Thompson comes out looking horrible, and guess what? He also gets hurt. How is that on Chris Greer, bro?
But dog, again, we're talking about
you could have any backup quarterback, and if they get hurt, how is that on the GM?
A 7th rounder, right? Quarterback. B, you made light or reference to the Buffalo Bills game. That's probably the best game that he played. And even still,
sure.
that game was played really well by our defense. We were all over Josh Allen.
Yeah, but my point is it wasn't a drastic decline like you're describing.
It did go because we went from being one of the hottest teams and scoring mad touchdowns and scoring games, and now we're not. Immediately.
No, that's last year.
No. The 2 years before, when Skyler was playing and came in, it's not like the pace was at the same. It's not like we were scoring 40 points when Skyler was playing quarterback or 30 points. No, dog. They were close games. And we were relying on our then great defense to help him out and win games and put him in easier positions. And again, he still had the element of surprise. You guys never would game plan for me because I'm a 7th round quarterback, but I got all these weapons. Mostert was killing it at that time. A-Chan killing it. Tyreek Hill on pace for 2,000 yards. Waddle was probably already over 1,000 yards. Like, you get what I'm saying? He came into a good situation and was able to fit into the vibe without fucking it up. But we didn't win because Skyler was out there throwing 300-yard games and scoring 3 touchdowns. I get it. That's his job as the backup. Now, next year, right, he doesn't show you anything to really earn that second spot. He's battling with a guy that we signed or traded for, ends up beating him, and thankfully, Tua can play the whole year. Great. That's the one-off. Awesome. Now this year, to your detriment, this is his 3rd year being here in the system. You would think that gap should be a little bit closer because now you're more familiar with the offense. You feel comfortable in it. You know how the guys cut. You know where the break is. You should feel comfortable, especially being a guy who's getting good reps, right? Getting enough reps. Comes in, complete drop-off, looks lost, that so lost, Joel, that he caused himself to get hurt because he was taking unnecessary punishment. The fucking crowd was yelling at him to throw the ball, and he's holding on to it to get smashed.
I totally get it. That's
your 3rd.
I'm not here to defend Skylar Thompson.
But what I'm saying is he's in that position because
of Chris Greer.
The lack of foresight from Chris Greer.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that we need to have a super stud as a backup. But the fact that we don't upgrade our backup from a guy, Skylar Thompson, and again, zero diss to him, but there's more options out there. So we never even explored them because the GM and the coach decided, hey, this guy is good enough. And we know that he's not good enough.
Yeah, obviously. We've seen it, bro. We know he's not good enough. Skylar's not the answer. He was out. It's already been announced for the New England. Tyler Huntley is starting.
Again.
So, there is questions to be had. 4 games into the season, 1-3. Tua's out for what looks to be another 4 weeks or so, which would bring him back around week 8 or 9, halfway through the season already. If Skylar Thompson or Tyler Huntley continue to play for the Dolphins can kiss their playoff hopes goodbye.
Right.
If you are Chris Greer, who are you looking for right now that's not Tyler Huntley to come in and try to save our season?
I think that ship has sailed a long time ago, brother. Because if you think about it, if you're one of those teams that are relying on one of those guys, right, you're not letting that guy go. You're not letting that guy go. If you're Pittsburgh, your quote-unquote starter is Russell Wilson, there's no way in hell you're letting Justin Fields go. No way, right? You want to hold on to him. Andy Dalton in Carolina, he's the 2nd quarterback, right? Bryce Young is going to get another chance, but Carolina's not going to trade that guy. We're not going to get nobody this year. That ship has sailed. We're stuck where we're at when it comes to the quarterback position, which is why I think, I feel so strongly about having to fire Chris Greer because of the lack of foresight. And you didn't protect our biggest and most important asset. You didn't put nothing around him that could sustain him.
That's the one biggest thing. I don't agree with the sentiment of we need to fire the guy because of the fact that I give him so much credit for everything else he's done, but I do agree. He didn't do enough
to protect
as
him.
the GM to build the O-line. D-line, I think I disagree. I think we've had a good D-line. We've had great pieces, that we've lost or we've brought in or drafted or whatnot.
Yeah.
But offensive line is the biggest thing, man. He's definitely missed on the offensive line. Teron Armstead is our biggest claim to fame. And let's be real.
That's already another bad
Health
contract we gave him.
concerns.
Yep.
And that's it. Health concerns. He's just not available.
Which leads me to my last point about Greer before we wrap up with a little bit of positivity, right? You mentioned the good signings that he has. He has made some really good signings, Joel. He really has. And we praised him for them. But that's probably like, I don't want to say the easier thing to do because I don't want to fucking downplay that job, right? And what it takes to get these guys in the building. But if you're a high quality level GM, bro, like you know that the devil's in the details, right? We're the Dolphins, we're a good brand, we pay players, like we'll always be able to be in a room with a free agent or somebody and sit down and get that meeting. So there's always a chance for us on that. But I think that him knowing that this is his project, how this was going, how the roster was looking, how the cap was, and he was in control of all of that, to not build up the depth the way that we needed to be built in plenty of key areas, not only the quarterback position, key areas. It's a big thumbs down on him, dog. And it sucks to say that because, fuck, I don't want this guy to lose his job like that, because obviously that's how he feeds his family, but we can't stand for this. We can't stand for this, Halftime boos loud as hell.
On the topic of that wasn't great, man. But on the topic,
national TV, man.
On the topic of Greer and making moves and stuff. So now, obviously, in the situation that we're in, Tyreek Hill's former team lost their number one receiver over the weekend, Rashee Rice. Potentially, it's not confirmed exactly yet, but there was a rumor about, you know what? If we're not going to be able to do anything this season, don't let Tyreek's talents go to waste. Trade him back, reunite him with Patrick Mahomes, and we get a buttload of picks or some sort of compensation. What do you think about that?
I don't want to entertain that right now because if we're entertaining that, then like I said earlier, Chris Greer needs to get fired like this hour, right? Because you're giving up. And I don't think we're at that point where we need to give up. The rest of the schedule that the Dolphins are going to have is favorable, right, to say the least. We got New England, a bye week, and then Colts, Cardinals. Not teams that are playing great. Teams that we're looking at like, oh, we could beat them, and they're looking at us like we could beat them, right?
I don't know if I'm looking at any team right now like we can beat them.
Yeah, and it's fair, right?
I'm gonna be 100% honest.
And I think that.
And it's not, you know what, look, this is something I want to talk about.
We can't consider nothing for a trade. My bad to cut you out, but
You're
we
good.
can't consider anything for a trade until these next 2-3 games happen, right? Because then we have to see if and when Tua comes back and how do we perform. But I think that's the reason why McDaniels is on the hot seat right now.
100%.
Right?
Now, speaking of McDaniels on the hot seat, though.
Yeah.
So Tyler Huntley, what did you think about Tyler Huntley's performance, and do you put any blame on Tyler Huntley, even though he had our sole touchdown? It was a rushing touchdown.
Of course. I think that he didn't play as free as he should have. He didn't take the opportunities or the chances, right? Because in my mind, and I told this to a coworker today, like if I'm Tyler Huntley, when I get out on that field and I run out through that smoke and I'm about to get that first snap, I'm like, well, this is it, dog. This could be my last chance. So guess what? We're going out, guns a-blazing. And he just didn't. He looked scared. He looked scared to pull the trigger, uncertain about where to throw it, if to throw it. And it was like, man, I'd rather see a guy play with more confidence.
I wish I would have seen him run more, dog. We saw him use
60
legs,
yards a
couple of times or whatever. But he didn't, do as much as I thought he would do on the ground. But really, dog, I asked you that question because I saw it and I'm like, yeah, he missed throws. Yeah, he missed read. But yeah, the guy's been on the team for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So how much blame can you really give a guy who his real only mistake that he made, and it wasn't even his fault, frankly, it was Tyreek's fault, was the fumble, the throw.
Yeah.
Because he put it on Tyreek, you know what I mean? It's not an easy play. Tyreek, you're an all-star. You got to catch that ball. And he didn't, and that ended up resulting in a fumble. But besides that, man, I blame McDaniel, man, going back to Mickey D's, bro, because
Play calling was
the play calling again, man. It's 4 weeks in a row. We don't see an adjustment. We can't get any penetration up front. The O-line can't block. Achane can't get anything going. And then all we're doing is screen and swing passes out to the outside and trying to use our fast guys out in the open. And guys are gobbling that up. Pause.
No, I mean, no Diddy. The thing is that it's this league is too quick for you to run the same schemes over and over and just do small variations of it. Like, that shit is not working anymore. We're running the ball way to the outside, throwing outside. It's like, where is the level up from McDaniels? Obviously, this offense works best with Tua, but he's not here, bro, and he's not coming back for anytime soon. So what are you doing to adjust? How are you changing things? And then you come out in the post-game conference and you're like, well, now everything's up for change. No shit. Everything should have been up for change. The moment that Tua went down and you knew that you had to play another game without Tua coming back for 2 months, you should have said, hey, you see this whole playbook shit right here? Scrap that. We're going with this simplified, college style, whatever you want to call it. But simplify the offense.
Yeah.
Where at least a quarterback can do a 5-step drop and fucking let it ride. Not that he has to do some abbreviation of a fake handoff and then a quick turn. Make it simple football for him. Hey, drop back, hit the post, or throw it out. If it's not there, throw it away. But fuck, that's not what we're doing. We're trying to be so smart and so innovative and trying to use the speed and do. No, bro. We're at our most basic of players right now. Keep the offense basic.
Yeah.
You know? And that falls on McDaniels, dog.
Oh, absolutely.
And it sucks because, like, to bring up what we started the show with, right? Both of these guys have been influential in how we've seen Dolphins football evolve in the last 5 years, right? How we went from being nothing, having some good players here and there, you know, players not wanting to come here, to putting on a defense together, getting some type of consistency on defense. Okay, we got Tua going. All right, we figured out this. We got a smarter coach. Okay, cool. And we started putting pieces together. But it never felt like a pretty picture or a completed picture. They're always like, well, yeah, it looks nice, and we got a lot of cool things, but there are certain things missing that could fuck the house up. And that's what we have right now. We have big pieces missing that are messing this Dolphins house up. And yeah, I don't know how to make it better right now.
No, we can't. We can't do anything.
You and I can't do shit.
All we can keep doing is having these petty parties to console our listeners and followers.
Drinking. I wish next time we should have a drink.
Yeah, maybe, but yeah, man, it's
tough.
It's tough to watch these games. I'll be watching them. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I got nothing else to do but watch this this dumpster fire, as I'm gonna call it. And bro, honestly, bro, the reason I wore my jersey today and I wore it backwards so that you can see the name on it is because all those people that I've had to argue with and debate with and have conversations with for the past 4 years, and basically it's around my somewhat defensive Tua or full defensive Tua to somebody completely against them. This goes to show you why that man got paid the money he just got paid and how valuable he actually is to this team. Granted, is his, fragility, is he fragile? Is his toughness, questionable? Those are all valid concerns. But from a quarterback standpoint, getting the ball out to your star receivers when you need to, timing-wise, the guy has it, bro.
He's been the best.
And I really hope he comes back to play. If he does not, I totally understand and respect it, and I'm not mad at him. If he came back, I'm rooting for him through and through.
Here's the thing with Tua, right? For me, it comes down to his decision making, and over his career, that's been my biggest thing. And you know this, right? Like, I've trusted in him. I know he can run the offense. I know he's probably the best guy to run this type of offense or somebody similar to him, right? Because he's just so accurate and he's really good with ball placement and he can do those things. But the main thing that's always come to kill him and whatever progress he's made has been two things: an injury, poor decision making. And when you combine the two, man, it makes it really hard to defend him. Man, it makes it really hard to justify the contract. And it sucks because he's been the best quarterback that we've had in 20 years. No doubt about it. Right? There's no doubt about it. I don't care what anybody says. Been the best quarterback that we've had in 20 years. and he's still coming up short, right? To our high-ass expectations of seeing our Dolphins team become a real legitimate contender week in, week out, and have superstars, and have a top 3 quarterback in the league, or a top 5 quarterback. We're not there. And I don't think Tua is ever going to make it there. Yeah, man, it sucks. It sucks. Back to the GM shit. What's our next step? What do we do with Tua?
All right, so let's talk about this. Very real possibility. Right now, we're sitting in the 2nd spot right now as it stands. Hold on.
Talk about that,
I want to talk about it because this is what we're here for, brother. All right? 2nd spot, only behind the team that we have beaten, which is the Jacksonville Jaguars. They hold the number 1 spot right now for the draft for next year. As of right now, 4 games through the season. What are your thoughts on tanking for Cam Ward?
If we do tank, and I promise you, like I'm not going beyond this. If we do tank and say, all right, we're gonna tank, this shit's a wrap, cool. Fire McDaniel, fire Greer, reset the whole thing, trade everybody.
Wow.
What the fuck? I'm not keeping guys here that are making $11 million on a bad team, $15 million on a bad team while we reset and try to rebuild. You think Jalen Ramsey's gonna want to stick around? You think Calais Campbell is gonna want to stick? None of these guys are going to want to stick around that are making money, dog. None of them. None of them if it's a bad team. So if we're tanking, dale, tank. We're rebuilding. If you're making money, you got a price tag on your head, dog. Either you perform to it or you don't. You're out. And that's where I'm at. Reset. But I don't think that we're there yet. That's why I said I didn't want to talk about it. We need to see how these next 3 games go. If they go surprisingly well, then there's a chance that Tua could come back and save the second half of the season. Because we're thinking about best case scenarios, all our injuries, all the guys that we want to depend on, guys that we want to sit out a couple of weeks and get back to full health. All of those guys should be theoretically back for the second half of the season when the games are tougher. If we're somewhere close, we win in 2 out of these next 3, and we go into 3 into 2 are coming back, and we're 3 and 4. Yeah, I trust Tua enough to at least put us somewhere close to contention for the wild card spot. I trust that. But if that's not the case, and we go 0-3 these next 3 games, start looking for a head coach. Start looking for a special teams coach. We're going to fire that guy for sure. Start looking for maybe a new defensive coordinator, and for sure start looking for a new GM. Yeah. And you know what?
And it's only week 4.
And it's only week 4. And we're going to keep doing this for the rest of the season because I think that we're going to see a lot of dramatic changes, right? A lot is going to change. That's football. First 4 weeks have been crazy. Look around the NFL. You got undefeated teams. You got teams that are doing really well, 3-1 that nobody really expected. So that's life in the NFL, right? And life as a Dolphins fan. But I think that us here, as Joel and I are only fans, just like you guys watching, we want to see the product in front of our eyes get a little bit better. We're going to have to go through a tough spot right now these next 2 weeks, but I'm hopeful that we can get something out of it. You're definitely getting something out of it because we're bringing you hot fire, bringing you these weekly videos where you guys can share in some of the joy and some of the grief and drop those comments and keep hitting those like buttons. Shout out to all our new subscribers. We appreciate you guys joining us. The only way you can help us by growing the show is by telling a friend.
To tell a friend.
To tell one more friend.
To tell everybody they know. That's my
tell
life.
Everybody they know that this is where the Dolphins fans get together to, come together as a community, kind of share the grief.
It's grief counseling,
yeah,
damn it.
Straight up. We let our emotions out and we figure out how we're going to attack next week and get better, man. But until next time,
peace.